All right, what we got here is a fence that my neighbor put up. He tore the old wood planks off, which I'm impressed because the boards that were crisscrossed on these poles that was put up in '59 when that house was built. Too bad the fellows that came in behind there and added on to it didn't do such a good job. But anyway, we have 3 predatory dogs. We've had them since pups, and that's just their instinct. We didn't train them that way, but what we did do was where he put these panels in, I came along to put some rock, packed it, wet it, packed it again, and that's a deterrent. Deterrent for the dogs to dig under. And he missed one panel, but he's going to get that. Did the same thing here on this little fence I put up. As you can see, we use telephone poles, mixture of chain link, steel, and wood. Never built the fence like this, but it came out kind of neat. It's a lot of digging. 3 foot in the ground. I think on these I went 2 foot on the line post because of the land, the area had to build up about 8 inches here. So we got it into some permanent ground, some solid ground. All this will go away when I get the remaining wire in. Come across a lot of roots, and I cheated on this one. It's only about 2 foot 8 deep. So, but that's the only one I cheated on. Interesting how this all came together. Got a 1.25 inch paddle bit. Marked all my lines off, marked all my holes. Wallered the bit a little bit, put this 1 3/8 pipe inside there. And what we did here, as you can see the joint, slid the poles together just enough to get them past that hole. Once I got them in the holes, put them together, and I secured them with 3 screws all the way around. And it stays very stiff. Pull these gates from the backyard. I got to trim them up. Had to rig them up because when this yellow thing here was a pup, about 6 months ago, he was actually getting his teeth. And as you can see, not only was he breaking the ties, but he was actually pulling the links apart. That's Joe, he's the mean one. I've had him the longest. Didn't train him that way, he just turned out that way. So once I get these fence shortened about 1 inch and get them trimmed up, make it look better right there. Here's where a gate's going to be eventually. Going to have a little walk-through gate going in the mailbox. I'm going to reuse as much as the chain link as I can. 35 feet between poles, between the wood poles, the power line poles. A lot of different methods to putting this stuff in. This is the one I chose. These eye bolts here, what we did, a plumb bob around the pipe, dropped it down, marked it. and pre-drilled a hole straight. That way these would run into the pole straight instead of trying to follow the grain and the cracks. Run a string line to the bottom of the hole. Mark down 1/8 inch below the string line and cut them. That's the way that works for me. It's easier for me just to cut the tops a little bit than it is to try to get the poles as is and get the height right. So we're about wrapping this job up. Then on to the septic system. My sister-in-law had this built many years ago, and as you can see, these are not set in concrete. They're just stuck in the ground, and it worked for a time. But down the road it does this. They lean and they walk all over the place. Some say 3 foot is excessive just for poles, and it may be, but when I get old, I can be spending my time doing other things other than redoing work I should have done right the first time. We're going to back off 2 foot, as you can see. Pull the root up from that hole right there. I was told these trees in New Mexico are real simple. They just have a few roots going around them. They don't have big tap roots. I guess he was talking about every one of these trees except for the one I pulled up here. It had 2 good-sized tap roots for the size of the stump I pulled up. So I'm going to have to bring this land up here. I'm going to bring this whole corner up about 3 inches. That's why I started down there first. We had this fence here. Started off with the poles from the idea that people kept hitting this thing and they never would fix it. My sister-in-law had a fence that was all dilapidated because people just kept bumping into it. So if they bump into these poles that are 3 foot in the ground, they won't drive away. So they might be careful the first time. The fence originally came to here. The one I put up for our dogs. There's a little project we're working on there. The underground dog house. So we decided to fence in the whole area. I saw these gates. Got my wife's approval. I picked them up. She has the good ideas. All I got to do is work the tractor and work the post hole diggers. And right here is just a post I put up just to hold back the dirt. It keeps folks from driving the big trucks real close to the fence and eroding the dirt down and eventually washing a hole out from underneath the fence, and my dog's getting out. Yeah, I got too close with the backhoe. I'll fix that later. bit by bit. Some land we inherited from my sister-in-law. This is all family land. I think they moved out here in '50. And all the kids growing up over the years played in this tree. So when it died, we just stuck a tabletop on top of it. My wife's idea. All I had to do was cut the boards and put the screws in it. But I believe only this little house here and this house here were here in '50 when they bought the land. We are eventually going to move back into this house. Got a little bit of work to do. Little sewer line, a bad tank lid that my brother-in-law fenced off when it caved in on him. Fix that. Fill it in later. We started to work on her house, repaired the worst part of it. And after she passed away, we decided to move it on the property, so I held up on the siding. This is just about what was on the rest of the house. There's holes all along the top like there is here where the trim had fallen off. So that door is going away. We have a double door to put there where those windows are. And we have several new windows to replace these. Once we move it further back on the property, we'll finish putting the siding on it, windows, and eventually build a metal top over it, like a carport. Over there is the original house. It was built by the family, built by the father when he started their family. And then everybody else came in here around him. Another tree that we made a top out of. This one was 84 years old. That's how many rings I counted. Let's see, this one. Oh yeah. That's a stump from an 84-year-old sycamore tree back in Waco that I had to cut down. There's the piece right above it. Yeah. Nice little table. My wife's idea. She has good ideas. All I got to do is paint them and cut them and put screws in them. She had the idea to put that pot on top of there, so made that work. Got several abandoned wells out in this part of the country. Not sure what these guys are doing wrong, but the people that have been out here, they put a well in, it works for 15 years, 10, 15 years, and it starts getting sand. I don't know what they're doing differently that other places seem to get right. But here's another one that's been abandoned. as it started getting sand. That well house, which looks like a 10-year-old particle board building that would have been built in Texas, is actually almost 35 years old here out in Roswell, New Mexico. It's so dried here, this wood lives a long time. Well, that's it.